guys, what's up? Welcome back to this week's edition of Mental Mondays on Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check it out. And if it's your first time to Mental Mondays, welcome. This is something we do once a week that we really don't talk about fishing. We just talk about topics that are designed to sort of make you think a little bit, stretch your mind, stretch your imagination. So welcome everybody if it's your first time or if you're a regular to the channel. Really appreciate that. Guys, today we're going to be talking about something I've been wanting to discuss for a while, and that is why we've seen a rash over the past 8 or 10 years about super intelligent people, or people that are intelligent, that have high IQs, that believe absolute nonsense, that is not backed up by any type of fact whatsoever. This is a rampant situation we find ourselves in society today, so we're going to get into that in today's video. Also, guys, a quick housekeeping tip here. Just wanted to thank everybody that's been helping to support Intuitive Angling by subscribing to the channel and using all my links I put in the description. Big thank you for me and my family, for everybody that's been using and bookmarking my Tackle Warehouse link in every description to purchase your tackle. You guys are really helping the channel out there, so thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. Okay, guys, we've seen an acceleration in this over the past 8 or 10 years specifically. There's a lot of different reasons why I want to talk about it, but what we have is you've got some people that are very successful on the outside. They may have high intellects, they may be successful financially, they may be successful in business, they may have a seemingly normal, very successful life, yet they believe nonsense, absolute nonsense. There's a bunch of people out there that believe the earth is flat. There's a lot of people out there that believe wild conspiracy theories, that the government is behind certain stuff and the space lasers are influencing our weather, and that everything's rigged out there, and that anything we do to the planet, like pumping excess CO2 into the atmosphere or spraying herbicide and chemicals in the water, they don't think they have any impact upon our environment. It goes on and on and on, especially with the conspiracy theories. We've seen a rash of conspiracy theorists rise to power politically, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit here in today's video, how it's possible for intelligent people just to believe absolute BS. Now, a lot of this has to do with it's like there's a connection between the intelligence somebody has and their ideology. And a lot of times you can have somebody that is very intellectually smart, yet they are so rigid with their they're such rigid ideologues that they can't really see beyond that. And a lot of people that fall for this, and a lot of people that believe nonsense, whether it be whatever type of topic you're talking about, most of those people, they reinforce that particular viewpoint or belief system by people that they associate with, that they're around. There's a reinforcement. Their peer groups tend to believe the same thing. They surround themselves and they just basically access news and information that reinforces that. They put themselves in an information silo. They don't expose themselves to other, factual information. They don't fact check things. They delegitimize fact check things, and they delegitimize anything they don't agree with. And that's one of the things that I have noticed out there a lot about people that just believe nonsense, is the fact that you can present somebody with a solid set of facts or evidence, and they simply deny it. They just simply gaslight it and say, that's just not true. I don't believe that. That's fake news. Even though it's backed up by multiple reproducible sources, legitimate sources that come from a diversity of different, viewpoints. And they tend to just dig their heels in and lock into what their belief system is. And I don't really understand that, because I know that I've got this one friend of mine that is a super successful person, very successful financially, has done very well for himself, super personable, super nice guy. I'm a good friend with him. But he is dug into a couple conspiracy theories that it makes me realize if there's not some type of screw loose a little bit in there. It's like some of these conspiracy theories that he believes, they're not backed up. There's zero evidence and zero facts and zero connection to reality for him to form that. But it's basically because his ideology reinforces that. It's almost like if you get locked into a certain way of thinking and you get connected to that certain way of thinking. It becomes part of your identity. And many times it's more painful for somebody to discard that identity and face fact and face reality than it is to admit that they're wrong. And we see that over and over and over again. And this is especially dangerous and especially a problem we have now in our information age that we're in, because we have so many types of information out there, and there's so many type of topics and information out there that you can Google or get on YouTube or whatever, and you're going to find something that is just way out there in left field, and you're going to find people that just fall for it. And the point is, it's very difficult to change that, because when you try to educate somebody, if somebody that is like super intelligent comes to me and they've got some wild conspiracy theory about something that's going on, and I'll just sit and say, okay, give me some facts, provide me some facts and evidence to back up your viewpoint there. And most of the time they can't do it. They will say something, they'll use some quasi website or something they saw on the internet or something as fact, and then I'll present them maybe with like 25 different independent sources that back up certain facts and evidence behind to counter their claim, and they'll just dismiss it as fake news. They'll just say, oh, that's not true, that's just bias, all that's fake news, you can't believe anything about that. So they live in this denial of reality as sort of the comfort zone to a large extent. And I find it very difficult to understand why so many people out there have a problem with the truth and fact-based evidence. It's like there's a segment of the population out there right now that rail against facts and evidence. It's like even when it's presented in an irrefutable form to them, they still rail against it. And they dig their heels in. We have seen this tremendously within the political arena the last 8 or 10 years, and it's sort of like it sort of buys into the whole cult-like mentality. If you've studied cults very much, this is a common thread amongst them, and it's not productive to our society whatsoever. It's like when we've created a situation in this country where misinformation and disinformation and lies and all this type of stuff are allowed to flourish unchallenged, and you've got social media outlets that don't fact check stuff and they allow stuff to stay out there that's simply not true, that is a danger to our society. And that's one of the things that divides our society. And there's a real, and this sounds like a cliche, but there's a real war on the truth these days. Because people have, the past 8 or 10 years, people have come up with these terms like alternative facts, where they basically create their own reality. They create their only viewpoint of reality in denial of what is actually true. So the main thing about it is, what can you do about it? It's very difficult, because when you have somebody that's really locked into a certain ideology, even if they're an intelligent person, you can't change that. It's like I've tried to educate people with facts and evidence and critical thinking skills, and certain people are so locked into the misinformation and some of the delusions that they're tied into, it's just worthless to even try. It's the best thing you can do is just try not to bring those topics up and try to just stay focused on what you guys agree with. But anyway, guys, there's nothing, when you lead a life that's based upon critical thinking skills and evidence and fact and science-backed reality with that, you can't go wrong. And for example, there's so many people right now that try to discredit science. The great thing about science is true regardless if you believe it or not. It's not some big conspiracy. There's not a bunch of scientists that are out there that are trying to take over the world and get rich. This is one of the conspiracies we see out there. And when you have critical thinking and you have science-based factual evidence that is discredited amongst a segment of the population, that creates chaos, and that creates division, and that creates delusion, and that creates dysfunction. And we are in the middle of that right now, because what you have is you've got a segment of people in this country that are in a position of power that have a vested interest in perpetuating this misinformation and disinformation and simply nonsense. And just like what I was talking about, that there's a politician out there that thinks that space lasers influence our weather, and that government is, there's this big evil government that controls the weather globally out there, and there's a ton of people that believe that crap. And when you're dealing with that type of mentality out there, it's frustrating, it's destructive, it's stupid, it's ignorant, and it doesn't do anything to push our society forward in a positive manner. Creating doubt and distrust and skepticism into things that are legitimately backed up by facts and reason and critical thinking doesn't benefit anybody except for the people that are trying to perpetuate that. So anyway, just wanted to toss that out there, guys. Really appreciate you guys listening today. We'll check in later. See y'all.